Is my voice is audible now? Yeah, sorry for
Yes, sir.
unmuted the content. So one more time I'll be telling. So we are knowing about the today's concept is about ER diagram. So ER diagram, ER itself says the entity relationship model. So here the entity means a real world object which can be easily identified. For an example, if you go with the college database, school database, or any database, in that you will be finding the entities. So collection of entities is nothing but database. So here, if I say the college database, there you will be finding the student entity, teachers entity, classes entity, courses entity. So for each and every entity, it has attributes. So attributes are nothing but the properties or the characteristics of that particular entity. So how the attributes will be there for the particular student? Say student roll number, student name. So many of the examples we are discussing in the previous classes and all till now what are the classes we have been hearing. We are talking about these two major concepts, entity and attributes, entity and attributes. So entity is a collection of similar type of entities. Okay, we are going to collect the similar type of entities. So it is a set. So entity set. What is this? It's a similar type of entities. So it contains the entities with attributes which are going to share the similar values. So the attribute which is having entities, those will be shared with some other attributes, and that those attributes will be shared with some other entities. So example, if I say student has a many, is if it is an entity, it will be have something like if the person will going to go to the school or the college, then the teachers is a set of contain all teachers of the schools of all facilities. So but that particular student you will be finding n number of teachers of concerned subjects. So entity is collection of similar types of entities. So entity set. So here why we are using this entity, because we want to store the information about that particular object. How are we storing? First of all, I'll be identify the object, then I'll be identifying the attributes, then I'll be trying to store related to that particular information. So attributes has the values. So if we talk about the attributes, it represents the means of properties. That means entities will be having the means of properties. So means of their properties are called as attributes. That means all attributes will be having what values. It will be having the values. Example, if I say student is an entity, in our case school database, if the student is an entity, then name, class, age, phone number, address, these are all are the attributes of that particular student entity. Okay, this value for that particular student entity will be more for one attribute. So I can have the student name cannot be number, it should be alphabet. Student age cannot be negative. Okay, that means we are going to give the values for that particular attribute. So the value says that one. So here the values I'm saying about the attribute is nothing but I will be storing the name in a form of alphabets, I'll be storing the age in a form of numbers. So I should have some restriction to that. So when I'm talking about the restrictions or the constraints, then we have to thought about something called types. So we have five different types of attributes. So you can make a note of this. Those are simple attribute, composite attribute, derived attribute, single value attribute, and multi-valued attribute. So we have different types of attribute. So one among that, very important, we'll be talking about the composite and the derived attribute. Now when I'm saying about the simple attribute, it says that it will cannot be divided further. That means a entity which is having a attribute, that is a property. That property will not going to divide further. Okay, then that is called as a simple attribute. Say suppose an example, I will take the student phone number. So phone number will be having of 10 digits. Okay, its atomic value is of 10 digits. So this cannot be further divided. Okay, right? So I cannot divide the 5 digits in some other thing, 2 digits in some other thing. It's not like that. So I should have 10 digits means 10 digits. If I want 11 digits, 11 digits, 8 digits means 8 digits. So when I'm talking about 8 digits, it is like your landline number. When I'm talking about 10 digits, it is of your normal number, which is for common for the Indian. Like suppose if you go for an foreign or something like, their number will be added with some say code, which will be going to add 2 more digits like that. But it doesn't mean that you are trying to divide the numbers, that is 5 digits in some other entities for some of for new remaining 5 in some other attributes, not right. So that means the attribute which is not furtherly divided is called as a simple attribute. Then coming to the composite attribute, it is opposite to the simple. That means furtherly I can divide one attribute into multiple. Say suppose address. If I say address, or in this case here I have taken the name. So name can be divided into 3 parts. Say something like first name, last name, middle name. That means one attribute which can be further divided into multi attributes. Then we call that as a composite attribute. So here in the case here in here I have the example of first name and the last name. So I have a name. I have a name for which I am trying to divide the content into parts. So I have name, under this I have 2 subparts. So I will be having like this. So how I will be represent this diagram for this? So I'll be saying name. Name will is an attribute which is will furtherly divided into 2 parts. So it is first name. Again it will be having like this, and this is your last name. So this is your last name. So this is an attribute. We, as I said, attribute is represented in an eclipse model. So here the attribute we are using for the diagram, we are using eclipse. Okay, a oval shape. So when I'm using the oval shape, so here name is an attribute for which we have 2 sub attributes. Now this kind of picture representation we call as a composite attribute. Okay, then coming to the derived attribute. So when I say derived attribute, that means one of the attribute is being depend on some other. That means if this is depend on this one, then we call this as a derived attribute. For an example, I have a something called my date of birth. So I have DOB. Now this is my attribute. Okay, now DOB, based upon that I will be having age. Having the age. Then this age will be go on changing depending upon the date of birth you specify. That means if I say 1976 is my date of birth, then according to that it will be say that you have been crossed 45 years or 46 years. If I said 1920, okay, then it will going to say that you have been past 100 years. So how this has been changing? Because this age is whatever I am getting, 12 years, 10 years, 15 years, 100 years, or so whatever I'm getting the end result, it is from the date of birth. That means this age is depend on this. So when that particular attribute, the particular attribute which is depend on the other attribute is called as derived attribute. So it will be represented in this fashion. So I will be writing like this. So if I find anywhere this kind of diagram, that seems that in our entity we have some attributes, and one among that one attribute which is looking like border like dotted like this, that means this attribute is depend on some other attribute. So if the definition, if you say, does not exist in the physical database, but their values are derived from other attribute present in the database. For an example, average salary in the department should not be saved directly in the database. Instead of it can be derived. Another example, if I say age. So if I go for an age, can be derived from the date of birth. So I have the date of birth from which I got the age. Okay. So for this, I'm not going to store. I will not store any information recurrence. Automatically, it will going to come from the date of birth which I have given. So I will be just show. So by seeing this, we can understand that okay, this is not exist in my table entity, but it has been derived from some other attribute. This kind of thing we call as derived attribute. Then coming to the single value attributes. So when I'm saying single value attribute contains a single value. We have only one value. Okay. That for the example say social security number. So in our case, if I was a student, we call that as an Aadhaar number. Okay. Right. Otherwise we say PAN number, something like that. So a particular attribute contains only single value, not more than one. Okay, so if the entity is having such kind of value, then we call that as a single value attribute. Then coming to the another one, very important one, multi-value attribute. So when I'm saying multi-value attribute, a value has more than one value. Okay, one attribute have more than one value. So an example, I have a person, or I am the person, I am the student. I have the personal phone number, I have my family phone number, I have my office phone number, I have land number. Like this, I will be having multiple. Now, if you use your Android mobile also, we will be asking you to that whether it's a number is belongs to home or office or your personal or anybody's. Like this, I can add the multiple phone numbers on a single entity of that particular person. So like that, I can have more than phone numbers and email address. Then in that case, we call that attribute as a multi-valid attribute. So how I'll be representing this one? I'll be saying that I represent my value like this. That means two circles I will be drawing. So if I draw two circles like this, then this is multi-valid attribute. So we call this as a multi-valid attribute. If I put the dotted, it is derived attribute. A attribute that has multiple attributes, then we call it as a composite attribute. Okay. So like this, we have different types of attributes. So if you see the examples, if you can able to see the examples, we will be finding this kind of example. So here you can see this is an examples. So here you can see the multi-valid attribute. So when I'm saying multi-valid attributes, this is the multi-valid attribute. So this is example which is going to tell about the multi-valid attribute. So this is your multi-valid attribute example. Now when I say derived attribute, so saying from all this I can able to understand this is derived attribute. Now when I say this one, this is composite attribute. So you can see here, this is an entity, student is an entity. We have, these are all our attributes because as I told you, these are all our oval shape, the eclipse shape. We are all called this as an attribute. Now when I'm coming over here, if you see name, again it has been subdivided into two attributes, more than that. So if I have like this, then we call this as a composite attribute. Then this is an attribute, this is also attribute, this attribute have a dotted thing, then please understand that this is derived. That means it has been, the data has been coming from somewhere. So the person who is the data age is coming from the data birth. So when I'm getting the data from this particular place, so it is being derived from this particular data. Then if I'm using it like this, it's in a multi-valid attribute. Okay. Now there is something we are going to know few more things under this about the keys. So the next topic is about the keys. So if you understand this, then we'll go within a key concept. So what the key will go into tell, there are some more identification of the diagrams. We have to identify that one. So here you will be finding something called the composite, derived, multi-valid. Okay, like this you have seen in a different kinds of ER diagrams. Okay, so when I'm talking about the different kinds of attributes, we have something called derived, single, and composite. Then we are thinking about something called keys. So the next topic is about keys. So here you have to listen carefully. You don't be go here and there because this is very important. We have something called super key. We have something called candidate key. We have something called primary key. Now it's a very important one. How it will going to use it? That means I have an data. That means this is the picture. Now seeing this picture, I'm trying to design the database using my MySQL software. Now when I'm going for that, I should be very careful that what kind of data it's going to hold. So when I'm saying date, alphanumeric character. When I'm saying name, it should be characters. Okay, if I say first name, it should be characters. Okay, if I say age, it should be number. Like this, when I'm going to segregate all these things, when I'm trying to store the information, then I should maintain whatever I collected. It should be uniquely identified. So key is an attribute. A key is an attribute or a collection of attributes. So key is what? It's a collection of attributes or an attribute that is uniquely identified and an entity among the entity set. So in the entity set, we have entity set. Like in the entity, we have something called DOB is there, age is there, name is there, first name is there, last name is there. So these are all are the attributes of that particular entity set. In that, you should identify which is uniquely can be represented. Okay, so for that we need the keys. So if I go for an example of super key, now when I'm going for the super key, before that we'll take the example of our roll number. So roll number of the student makes him or her identify among the students. So we have a lot of students are there. Student is an entity. So how I'll be going to identify with the person? By roll number. Okay, so if I say 191431501, so 1143 will be going to tell me about that 143 is belongs to commerce department, 141 is department of commerce department. Okay, when I say 19, now this person has joined in the 2018 batch and it will now right now it is got the roll number as a 19. Okay, or he will be belongs to the 19 to 22 series. So I'll be going to identify based upon the numbers. So like this I'll be identifying. So when I'm trying to identify, I should be going about know the concept about the super key, candidate key, and primary key. Now what is the super key we're going to say? It is a set of attributes, one or more. One or more, a set of attributes that are collectively identified an entity in a entity set. That means in my entity I have some lot of attributes. Like lot of attributes is something called DOB is there, age is there, name is there, first name is there, last name is there, serial number is there, SSH number is there, Aadhaar number is there, contact numbers. Like this, we have lot of attributes. From that, we should identify the correct entity that is been going to set as one or more attributes. When I'm saying about the candidate key, it is a minimal of super key called as candidate key. So entity set may have more than one candidate key. So I can have the more than one key. Now, very important, always we are going to deal with the something called a primary key. Now, when I'm telling about the primary key, you should understand that it is not null. It is not null. It is not null, and it is mandatory. Okay, it should be mandatory. It is mandatory and no duplicates. What do you mean by not null? That means I should not keep that particular box. So what are the box I'm having? What are the box I'm having? Say that records. So whichever the table record I'm using. So I have rows and columns. I should not keep this as a blank. I should fill with something. Okay, that is not. And it is compulsory. So I'm saying it is compulsory. I cannot leave it blank. It is should be compulsory. That means roll number means I have to give roll number 1. If it's roll number, roll number. I should not skip this. Either I can skip other columns. They are been not restricted, but this is restricted, saying that the data which you are storing in this one is compulsory. So you should compulsory enter the value. It should not be keep blank. Then no duplicates. That means once the person has been assigned with some number, the same number should not be repeated for others. So that is, if you are repeating, then that is a redundancy. So it duplicates. Once the duplicate is arising, then you are not, your data is not consistency, not integrity. So in order to tell that, I should avoid this one by the restrict the people not to enter the duplicate words once it has been assigned. So I will be selling that concept as primary. So we call that as a primary key. So primary key is one of the candidate keys chosen by the database designer to uniquely identify the entity set. So in order to identify the uniquely set. So as I told you, there are a lot of attributes are there in that attributes. Something like ID number or roll number, other number, contact number. So we have been identifying some of the keys, and among that we are going to say check or pick up which is more important so that it can be linked with all other departments, that is all other entities. So this is about the entities, about the attributes, and about the keys. Okay, now coming to the relationship. So relationship will going to say about the association among the entities. So it is an association among the entities. So it will going to tell me that what is the relation between the two different entities. Okay, so if I have something called department is there, student is there, then a person is going to work at department, student will enroll in the course. So what is happening? Student is one entity, course is an one entity. What is this two things you are doing? We are linking with some words saying that the person is going to enroll the course. So enroll is the relationship. Okay, then I'll be having an employee. I have an employee and I have a department. So there are two different entities. How it is linked? Because they are the people, employees are working in the department, so they are being engaged with some work or an action. So there is some relation between these two other departments. So employees have the responsibility, and department also have the responsibility to make the relationship. Okay, so here the work set and the roll numbers are the relationship. So here as I told you that these are the two things we will going to explain the what is the concept of a relationship. Okay, now coming to the relationship, we have different kinds of relationship. We have one to one. So one to one will be like this. So one arrow. So here also is also this one. Here also, that means I can have one to one in this fashion. So I can go like this, one to one, or I can go like this. Okay, then when I'm telling about the one to many. So when I'm telling about the one to many, the entity from a set A can be associated with more than one entity. So one entity set. So these are all our one entity set. These are all our entity sets. So one entity set is in associated with one entity. So here you can see this is associated with this and this. This is associated with this and this. Okay. So it says that one to many. Now I can have the relationship from many to one. That means I have the relationship like this. So this is linked to here, this is linked to here, and this is linked to here, this is linked to here. That means this three set of entities. So these are all our entity sets. So this four entity set are being linked to other entity set in this fashion. So here it has been not linked, so you omit it. But if you see here, many people are connected to one single entity. See, now when I'm telling about the many to many, it is both the hand. It will be the entity will be going to interact with each other or going to share the information among themselves. Okay, so it is associated with more than one entity. So from A to B and E to A. So like this, we'll be having the many to many concept. Okay, so this is about the relationship. So already I showed the set diagrams related to that. Now coming to the relationship, I'll be using the diagram called rhombus. So this is an entity. This is an entity. For attribute, we are using this one as an attribute. This as an attribute. These are an attribute. If you are using double, then we call it multivalued. If you are dotted, we will say this as a derived one. Okay, if I have more than one subgroup for that attribute, we call it a composite. So this is what we have learned in the entity. When I'm talking about the relationship, we have seen something called one to many to one to one, and many to many. So in that case, how I'll be writing, how I'll be representing the code, that I'll be having the entity like this. And if you have a one-to-one relationship, just add those things to with the relationship, and I can say here I'll be writing one to one. So this says that you have been connected to this one another entity by using a relationship called one-to-one relationship. Now coming to the one-to-many relationship, I'm writing here one. That means entity is related to one relationship, and that relationship have been connected to n number of entities in this fashion. Then coming to the many-to-many, here you can say this is n and this is 1. So saying that here this entity is dependent on this particular entities many times. So when more than one instance, so this is more than one instance associated with the relationship, as here we have n is to 1. So this is n is to 1. So the following image reflects that more than one instance of the entity on the left and only one instance of the entity of the right can be associated with the relationship. This depends upon the many to many relationship. So this person is dependent on this particular entity n number of times. So when I'm telling about the many to many, this is going to describe about the one instance or many instance have been connected to one instance. I'm going to get the many entities. So how are we using this one? So it says that the image reflects that more than one instance of an entity and left and more than one instance of the entity on the right can be accessed with the relationship. So this is how we are going to get the many to many relationship. Our next important one, we are talking about the RDBMS, we are talking about the DBMS. So many times we have been gone through this particular concept. So I was telling about that if there is a person called EF Cord rules, so EF Cord, he has given the some 12 rules. If any software which you are using as a backend, if that supports among this, then only we call that as an DBMS or we call as an RDBMS. Okay. So what are the rules that have been framed by the Edgar F. Codd? So Dr. Edgar F. Codd in 1970 has given this Codd rules. Based upon this, he'll be telling about what are the things to be noted and what are the things to be accessed should be followed. Like that, we have to think about the Codd rules. So whenever the Codd rule one is going to tell, it will be asking you to give the proper information. So whenever I'm trying to go with the name, going with an information, that is my first rule, says that the information rule says that whatever the data that has been stored on the database, that is whatever the content you collected, which you are storing in the database, either it is in a user data or in any metadata, it must have values. Okay, everything data must be stored in a table format. So what is the first rule? It's saying everything should be stored in the database should be in a form of table format. So all the data, whatever you are stored, whether it's in pictures, whether it's in videos, whether it's in audio, whether it's any kind of things, whether text, all should be stored in a form of tables and the table format. That is rows and columns. That is what is the first intention of the control. Then coming to the second one, he is going to grant the access. Now what is this granting the access? Now if I go with an example, every single data element has values, is guaranteed to be accessible logical with the combination of the table name, primary key, and attribute name column. So what is happening, as I told you that a single data, when I'm talking about a single data, if I say a roll number, now roll number is what? It's an attribute. It is holding the roll number called 191431501. Now it is holding the same roll number will go and store 191431510. The same number will go and store 191431500. So like this, it will go and store the every element, what we call the column, that has attributes. Those can be stored the values. Okay, those will have to store the values which can be accessible logically. So how I'll be accessing? I want roll number of 1546. What is the name of that 1546 roll number? So I put the query, and whenever I'm able to get with that particular query, I should able to give the answer to the person. Okay, you ask the roll number 1546 and his name is there. So like this I'll give the information. So I should be very guaranteed while I'm trying to access the table name or the primary key or the attribute, for which such as pointers cannot be used as a data. Now here, if you remember this is a very important one. I cannot use the pointer concept. Now what is this pointer concept will say? Now suppose if I'm using the C language, if I'm using the C language, so if I use the C language or C++, with the help of this, I can able to locate the my data on the hard disk. So with the help of the C and C++, if this is an hard disk, okay, on which location, at which point my 746, say 746 my roll number or my amount or something like that. I want to know that where the 746 is being stored on this. So with the help of pointer concept, I can write a C and C++ program, go over there, and I can steal the data from this particular hard disk. So that concept has been removed from the database DBMS software. Why? Because we have been telling that as I am storing the table format, because yearly clearly I am saying you store the data in a form of table. So when I'm storing the data in a form of table, then data should be retrieved from this location only. You should retrieve the data from this particular location. It should retrieve the data from only from this location, not from the original address. Now original address is this one. Assume that this is your original address. So from the, that means it should not go and get the data from this one. Whatever the data that is there inside on this one, I should able to get it. Now this is what the guarantee access of the data. So if I use the pointer concept, here the data is stored. With the help of this data, I can able to jump to the hard disk and I can steal the information of others also. Because of such kind of issues have been erased in the market, then it says that it is okay. It should not use the pointer concept. So I am trying to ensure myself that whatever the data or the element that has been accessed by the combination of the names and the primary key, then that is called the guarantee accessible. Okay. Then coming to the third chord rules. So what is this third chord rules that we're going to say? It says about the systematic treatment of null values. So as I told in the beginning, when I'm saying primary key, not null. I'm what every time I'm telling you, not null. Okay. So I'm talking about this not uniqueness, no duplicates. Like this, I'm going on telling about it. Now here, that kind of a concept will go into it. So when I'm telling about the systematic treatment of null values, it says that you must the table. So here, if I have a table, so if I have a table, okay, that means the data which you want to store. So I have to store some 56 or something like this. Okay, I want to store some value over here. So if I want to store, you can store it. But right now you don't have this 56. You don't have this number. Okay, you want not to store over here. Later on you want to store it. In that case, you are saying either the data is missing either data is not known or it is not applicable. That means the data which you want to store onto the hard disk, okay, it should not be blank. Okay, the meaning of the null value means it should not be blank. Okay, it is not applicable. That means right now if I say example, I have to register myself in the college. By saying that if I want to register, I'm telling the person to give the phone number. Then you will be saying, sir, I don't have my phone number, my father my I'm using my father number, so it will take some time to get my own mobile. So what you are doing, you're asking an excuse not to store your father contact number onto the hard disk. So what you are doing, instead of that, you are saying that I want to go with some other alternative. So right now I don't have a data. I don't have a data. It doesn't mean that it is blank. Data is there. Right now it is missing. Okay. So that is the third rule. Now coming to the fourth rule, it is active online catalog. So it is like active online catalog. When I'm telling about this, again I'll give an example. Like if you go to an hotel, you will be ordering something. So if in order to order something, you should have a menu card. Now when you go for a menu card, it will going to give me the information about the vegetable, non-vegetable, or tiffins, or special North Indian thali, South Indian thali. Like that, you're going to maintain some brochure where it will be having. So instead of telling the brochure, we call it as a catalog. So that catalog has been got maintained. Whenever I need, I'll try to retrieve that. So such kind of information about the entire database can be stored online, known as data dictionary. So whenever you want to access the data authorized users, so we in order to access this, I should have the authorized user. Authorized user can be have the same query language access to the catalog, which can be accessed the data itself. So query language should be same. That means I am the person, I know French, and I cannot tell the computer do my work and give me the work in French only. Translation can be done only at the person level only. But when I'm saying storing of data, now when I'm storing the data, I should store the data in a same concept. Okay, that is like if I'm storing in English, I should be storing in English only. Okay, so like that, whenever I ask is asking the person, he should able to give me the catalog. Okay, like I given the example of portion. Right now, when I'm coming to the the fifth rule says that comprehensive data sub-language rule. So as I told just now the beginning in the exam in the catalog, I know Telugu, other person knows the French. So if I want to speak with the person, I need to learn French, other I should have a appoint in a mediator called French translator from Telugu to French. At the other end also the person knows the same concept, so he will be also knows the French, but he cannot speak Telugu. So he also need the translator. So what is happening in this? I should not say that whatever the data you are adding, you are doing any transaction, which is not relevant to only that particular language. Do not stick to that. That means when I am asking the person in French, what the French the translator is doing is translating the words into a Telugu, and the Telugu will be speak to the person who knows the Telugu, and he will going to give the answer. So in this fashion it will be there, but the person is not changing. There the person is not changing, and the mediator is not changing. So similar fashion, only the language is changing. So here when I'm trying to give the value. So you will be seeing on the screen, like website you will be finding in the website you will be finding the language in Telugu or Hindi or English. So maximum will find the English. So if you want to convert that everything into the English, that means you will be going to click on the English language, and there you will be finding the Telugu. You click that. Then what happened? The entire page has been converted into Telugu. It doesn't mean that the same information has stored in the backend. Just it is translating for temporarily. Okay, so data is stored in English only, but when I'm asking the person, is translating. So who is translating? The GUI, the plugin is translating into Telugu so that I can understand and I can reply to that. So this is what the comprehensive data sub-language is. So such kind of problem should not be there. It should be considered any kind of, so there should not be any problem problem. So it should not reflect any kind. So what are the transactions I'm doing? What are the definitions or manipulation transactions I'm doing? This should not be directly or the main for the same application. So some applications will be used on the front end you're using. So I'll use my front end in the Tamil. Okay, when I'm entering the values in the Tamil, automatically the database should not store the content in the Tamil. It should be feasible to that. So according to him, he has designed, the developer has developed the design in English. So whenever he's storing in the Tamil or typing in Tamil, that should be converted and it should store in the English. And whenever the person is asking, that converted English should be translated again into the Tamil and he will go into it. So as a user, you should not be feel any difficulty to access the data. Okay, so that is what the compression is. And coming to the view viewing updating rule. Now this is another important one. When I'm saying view of database, I will know I won't be having single table. Okay, this table has been divided into splitted into n number of entities. So just you have seen the many diagrams, ER diagrams. So like this, you have n number of entities. So I have one table, it has been splitted. Now why it is being splitted? Because I don't want to put every burden onto the entire thing. In future, if something has been happen to this, I should have another order. So like this, I have been splitted my data. So whenever I'm splitting the data, the person is asking some question. So when I'm asking the person the question, he is able to give the answer. So from where he's picking or where from where he is getting the data, it is nowhere relevant to the user. He requires that theoretically whatever he wants to update, it should update all in this thing. Like I'll be saying, I'll say this is your admin department, this is your speech department, this is your examination department. Now this is your any other department, hostel or something. Now if the person having the roll number over here, then only he can access this thing. Okay, he cannot add new roll number, he cannot add new roll number, he cannot add the new roll number. Okay, it can be done by only this. So whenever I'm telling, okay, roll number 20 has paid the fees, so roll number should go over here and the amount should be added. That means roll number and fees, so it should directly go over there and it should be updated. So when I'm saying roll number 20 is there, his attendance is 70%, so when you go to a particular table and it should be updated. So this is what the viewing the updating rule. And another very important one is insert update delete rule. Now when I'm telling about the insert update delete rule, if the new person come, I should in a position to add the records. When the old data is there, like as I told, I have been changed my roll number, sir, today my number is not available, I lost my mobile, I have gone to go with a new mobile number, kindly update. That means I'm trying to modify it. Then you are saying I don't require this when the student is been left over or the person has something else. So if you nowhere require that data, then you are able to delete it. Now this kind of operations has to be available for any language which you are using. So it says that it should support this kind of operations and it should not be limited to the single row. That means it's, I say that okay, this is applicable only for row number 20, this is applicable only for 30, it is applicable only for 50. It's not like that. Whatever the operations you are doing for a single person, it should be applicable for the all the persons. So like that, it should not be restricted. So there should be no restriction. And also whenever I put the queries, I should able to get the operations like union, intersection, and minus. Now it should support these three. Now what is this example? As we have gone for the 8th class or 9th class or 10th class, you have been learn about the concept. What is that concept? If you remember, uh, intersection, union in the max. If you remember that one, that will be easy for us. So you will be writing something called A union B. You remember this one? So we have the A inverse. So that means A is having some set of numbers. B is also having set of numbers. When I say union, all the numbers that are belongs to A and B should be displayed. So here A is an entity, B is an entity. Okay, when I'm saying A entity and B entity comma, that means the whatever the data that is there in the A and the B should display for me as one together, though it is storing in different places. But when I say I want to combine this, it should support. So that is what the union. So union means all the data relevant to A and the B should be combined and display on the screen. Now when I'm saying intersection, opposite to that, that means whatever that are matched in the A and whatever that are matched in the B, only you display that one. So how I'll be using in the mathematical in the old what in which class we learn this one, ninth or 10th. So I'll be saying something called A intersection B. What is this A intersection B do? Whatever the common elements that you find in the A and B, those only you display. That means it should support all, it should support the values that are been existing in the both the entities. Now when I'm saying minus, okay, where I have something called A intersection, some values, B has some values. Whatever that matches in the A and B, remove those things and rest over data of A should be displayed or rest over data of B should be displayed. So how I'll be using, suppose I will say A minus B. So that means when I'm telling about the A minus B, it says that you remove the matching from the B and A, and whatever the left out in the A, you display those things. That is minus. Or if I say B minus A, whatever that is matched in the B, remove from the B as well as A, and the rest over that is displayed in the B, the data that is left over of B, you display. So like that, it should give the records not only by inserting, updating, deleting. Whenever I put the queries, it should be feasible for that particular operation. So this is what the seventh rule. Then coming to the eighth one, it says about the physical data independence. Now what it is going to say, whatever the data that I am storing on the database, it should be independent. It should not be like I am compatible to only Android, I am not compatible to the iPhone. It's not like that. So whatever the applications I'm using to access the database, so I'm using some GUI. With the help of that GUI, I'm trying to connect the database. So whenever I'm trying to retrieve the data from the different operating systems, it should be able to access. So freely it should be accessed. It should not restricted. Okay, you have developed this software in Android, you have developed this software in Mac OS, you have developed this software in Windows OS. So it is only feasible to Windows. That means if you have Windows only, then only you can access. It's not like that. If it is like that, then it is a dependent database. Okay, I want the database in such a way that it should be applicable for all the operating system. Okay, so it should be applicable for all. Okay, so any changes that I do in the physical structure should not impact the how the data has been accessed by the external applications. So whichever the applications you are using, whether retrieving the data, updating the data, deleting data, whichever the application you are using, so you are using some GUI to access the data. So whatever you are doing, it should not disturb the physical structure. Okay, we should not say, it should not be not compatible to the physical structure. Whatever the applications you are doing for connecting the database, it should not be such a way that it should not be disturb your structure. Okay, the same thing with the logical data independence. So when I'm talking about the logical and data independence, it is also an independent. Okay, but user application as a view of user. So application, like as I want to know that, okay, I store the data. Let's say I am been storing the data, I am using some GUI. So I'm using some GUI to store the data. So as a user should know that he is storing the data and retrieving the data from the GUI, where it is storing, how it is storing, from where it is storing. I should not be given the, I should not relieve that to the users. So this is what I want to do. Any changes that the logical not apply to the application. For example, if your two tables are merged and you are divided into two tables, so it should not impact on the other table by using the application. Okay, so this is about the integrity rule. So two more rules are there, three more rules are there, then we'll wind up the class. Okay, then coming to the integrity independence. So as I told you that I have many backend process are there, I have many servers are there, or I have many tables which have been split here. So once I store the values through this GUI,
Excuse me,
or
sir.
to that particular database, and it should not be say that
Excuse
okay,
me, sir.
this is a data roll number, so roll number for this particular person. is been updated over only here on. It's not like it should be updated in all the aspects. So whenever I try to get the records from that particular different location, I should able to get it. Okay, so it says
Excuse
that
me,
it is
sir.
an independent application. Yeah, ma'am.
Sir, we have cost accounting from 3:30, sir.
Just 2 minutes I'll be given. Okay, 2 minutes I'll.
Okay.
Okay, sir.
Okay, so coming to the distributed independence. So as it says that data has been got distributed, and for the user, it should be understand that I'm using only one. So for him, I have to give the colorings or something like that, saying that you are using only one or something. That means he should know only that I am the user and that is a server. So how from where is like a go to the hotel example. You are asking for then any food, the person is getting the food from the kitchen bawarchi or from he is getting the order from different hotel, we are not bothered whether he's getting from other also is serving, but we know that it has been made in that particular hotel only. Okay, so we are not supposed to say that from where the food is coming, so we are not going to relieve to the user. Okay, then coming to the last rule is subversion rule, non-subversion rule. That means whenever I'm having the interface, as I'm talking about, so from here onwards the interface has been started. So when I'm using the interface, whatever the data I'm trying to use it, it should not bypass the securities. This is very important one. So it's not like this. So here what I'm saying, I'm ordering the food, the server is getting from the food. Okay, so you should not peep into this particular thing without considering him. Okay, I want to know that, I want to test it, okay, whether this person is getting the food from the bawarchi or the some other hotel. So without knowing him, if I go and into the directly into the bawarchi and see how the food is done, then you are bypassing the rule. That means you are breaking the security. And whenever you are breaking the security, you should not be able to get the data. That means if you are going to the, like as I told you in example, you will be saying that you are not allowed. Okay, only the people that belongs to the that particular organization can be allowed, no other people, extra people are allowed over. So if you are coming over here and inside over there, so if you access everything from there, then you are breaking the rules. Okay, if the person has got the chance to break also, he should not get anything from that. Okay, if the person is try to break the rules also, you should not find any kind of information from that. So if you are doing that, you are being your security, that means your data is secure, otherwise it is bypassing the rules. Okay, so this is what the EF card rules has been explaining about the 12 card rules. Okay, so hope you understand. If you have any doubts, you can just clarify the doubts in the next session. Okay, so I stop here only. We'll see in the tomorrow's class with a new topic. Okay, I'll just take the attendance, then we'll stop it.